The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Cloudy, 31 degrees. It's 2:40. Good afternoon. I'm Show Kabbalah. Here's what's happening. Rain in the city later. Freezing rain in some parts of our area. We'll check with AccuWeather for the latest. AAA says today's the busiest travel day on the road and in the sky, and there are far fewer delays and cancellations at our airports after storm cleanup. Governor Hochul stops the planned demolition of a historic synagogue in East Flatbush. Red Rocker Sammy Hagar's Foundation's helping a 12-year-old who was injured when a chopper crashed into a pedestrian bridge in Southern California. What do you think about a robot that folds your laundry? Would you welcome this thing into your house? The Jets are battling the Patriots. Giants, Raiders at 4:05. Islanders, Blue Jackets at 5. Wins News Time 2:41. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Sue Aller.
And here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. We're looking at 45 minutes inbound to the upper level of the George, about 30 to 35 to the lower level. And then plus off of the bridge, eastbound Cross Bronx, there's an accident on the ramp to Amsterdam Avenue. Now, outbound is also 35 to 40 minutes completely jammed coming off of the bridge onto 8095 Express. Go with the local lanes. And also the western spur of the turnpike just completely jammed both ways as you head towards the American Dream Mall and MetLife. Now, it's 30 to 35 minutes inbound at the Lincoln and Holland, outbound about 10 at both tunnels. And Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge still dealing with an accident, so stick with Manhattan or the Williamsburg Bridge. But good news heading to Brooklyn at the Verrazano Bridge, lower level, stall cleared away. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. An accident quickly cleared westbound on the LIE at Searingtown Road, and no delays on the southern or the northern, but major delays on the Meadowbrook both ways by the mall. Sue Aller, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Winter weather advisories go into effect this afternoon for areas north and west of 287. Let's get the latest from AccuWeather meteorologist Matt Benz.
Rain and drizzle will be a concern here across the tri-state as the day progresses. Watch for just plain rain here in the city, though not too far to the north and west. There will be a period of freezing rain or drizzle at the onset of precipitation, and that will cause a risk for slippery travel, especially near north and west of 287. Everyone will warm up above freezing here later on tonight. Temperatures through the 40s for tomorrow with rain to start the day. A show back to you.
Snowy weather really messed things up at the airports the last couple of days. Millions of Americans are still traveling either to get home from Christmas or get somewhere else to ring in the new year. Clint Henderson is managing director of the Points Guy. He says after today, things should calm down on the travel front.
Airlines are recovering fairly quickly from these weather events, unlike prior years. So that's a little bright spot for me. Also, good news, after Sunday, the crowds start to slow down. So you'll see the busiest day be Sunday as people are going back to work, getting back home after the holidays, and then it'll start to taper off.
More than 1,000 flights were delayed or canceled Friday night into Saturday because of the storm. And there are still plenty of delays, not a whole lot of cancellations at our airports. Of course, check ahead. Police in the Bronx looking for several suspects after a 15-year-old boy was shot to death in the hallway of a NYCHA building. Eric Atkin from Waterbury, Connecticut, was shot in the chest on the 7th floor, one of the buildings in the Eastchester Gardens complex. He was pronounced dead at Jacobi Hospital. Cops say a 14-year-old boy was also found shot outside on Laconia Avenue. He's expected to survive. 6 men were seen scurrying off from the shooting scene. No arrests, no motive is known yet. A historic synagogue in East Flatbush will now be preserved. The Kingsbrook Shul was in danger of being knocked down during the $400 million redevelopment of the Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center, but now Governor Hochul's office says they found a path forward where the site can prosper and serve the community. The rebuild will include keeping the synagogue, which has been around since the early 1900s, as well as adding more than 400 units of affordable housing. At least one person's been killed after 2 helicopters collided midair over southern New Jersey. A second person has life-threatening injuries. This happened around 11:30 this morning in the skies above Hamilton, New Jersey. Police and fire crews that responded to the scene put out a blaze that fully engulfed one of the choppers. Video shows the others spiraling to the ground. It is not clear what caused the mid-air collision. The FAA and NTSB will investigate. It is 31. Cloudy skies going up to 35 in Midtown. Now a WFAN Sports Flash.
Well, the Jets being outclassed and then some at the Meadowlands. The Patriots destroying the Jets 35-3 as they start the second half at the Meadowlands. That's the same halftime score as the famed butt fumble game. Just what a franchise. There is some hope attached to these losses, at least, as the Jets try to improve their draft positioning. They'll fall to 3-13 once the clock hits 0. It is notable that the Browns are leading the Steelers 10-6 in the third quarter. If that holds, the Jets can move into the top 3 in draft positioning and perhaps move up even more, as the Giants and Raiders will be playing a game that no one wants to win. Well, maybe some of the players do, but both franchises are eyeing the top overall pick in the quarterback or trade bounty that will come along with it. Should be a unique afternoon in that game. You can hear the live play-by-play for Giants Raiders on WFAN, with kickoff coming at 4:05. Hockey, the Islanders following up last night's win over the Rangers by heading to Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets. They'll drop the puck there at 5 o'clock. From the WFAN Sports Desk, I'm Pete McCarthy.
President Trump says he believes both Ukraine and Russia's president want peace. Mr. Trump has been meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky this afternoon at Mar-a-Lago. He already spoke with Vladimir Putin on the phone.
Zelensky seems to be offering some serious concessions, including ceding some territory, not directly to Russia, but as a demilitarized zone, territory that Ukraine currently controls. Significantly, though, he's also saying that he wants Putin to cede some territory that he has captured through war.
Jonathan Karl reporting. The two presidents shook hands and spoke with reporters.
Big deal. We get it done. Too many people dying. And I think both presidents want to make a deal.
Rock music legend Sammy Hagar helping out a 12-year-old boy who was crushed by a falling helicopter. His foundation gave the child $10,000 towards his recovery and future.
Oliver Holland was one of 5 people who were hospitalized when a helicopter plummeted from the sky and slammed into a pedestrian bridge over the Pacific Coast Highway in Huntington Beach, California in October. He was trapped under the wreckage and left with serious injuries, including a collapsed lung and brain bleed. His sister, Madeline Ashwell.
It's been amazing. He's just recovered, like everything is back to normal, like he's just a normal kid.
The family spoke with Hagar on FaceTime.
What are you going to do with all that money? No candy.
The money will be deposited into Oliver's college fund.
Christopher Cruz reporting. Do the words artificial intelligence make your skin crawl? Would you buy a robot to fold your laundry? What else can I ask you? We'll talk about that robot, but first, WINS News Time 2:51. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Sue Aller.
What a big mess in New Jersey on the Garden State Parkway. Express lanes northbound, north of exit 109. An accident. All lanes now are closed in those express lanes, so you need to go to the local lanes. And the turnpike is just jam-packed on the western spur both ways as you head towards the American Dream Mall in MetLife Stadium. And so you want to go with the eastern spur. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. 45 minutes inbound to the upper level, 35 to the lower level of the GWB. Then once you get off the bridge and onto the eastbound Cross Bronx on the ramp to Amsterdam Avenue, there is a collision. You got about 35 to 40 minutes on the outbound side. Inbound Lincoln and Holland, 35 to 40 minutes as well. Outbound, about 10 minutes each. But good news heading into Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Bridge. An accident has just cleared away, so things are moving much better. But once you're in Brooklyn, completely jammed on that BQE, and that is both ways right by Atlantic Avenue. Sue Aller, 1010 WINS on 92.3 FM.
Now the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Matt Benz.
And the clouds are thickening up, and we're now waiting for the rain to return to the tri-state. And it looks like some rain and drizzle will return here for this evening into tonight. Areas of fog, and there could be some freezing rain and drizzle as well. Just plain rain here in the city, but there can be some freezing rain and drizzle at the onset near north and west to 287. That could result in some slippery travel for a while, at least early on tonight. Temperatures everywhere expected to rise above freezing, with temperatures around 40 by daybreak tomorrow. Tomorrow, occasional rain in the morning, then periods of sun for the afternoon, high 49. Much colder tomorrow night as it turns very windy, then blustery for Tuesday with the sun, a high of just 32. Breezy and cold Wednesday, high 34. Right now it's 31 degrees in Central Park under a cloudy sky. Repeating, the current temperature is 31, going up to 35 this afternoon in Midtown. I'm back here with the meteorologist, Matt Benz, on New York weather station, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
So all this artificial intelligence, if you've played around with these apps that we've been exposed to, you've probably been impressed, but also noticed that AI makes a lot of mistakes. And so where are we on robots helping us with stuff like chores?
Meet Isaac, a robot that can sort, fold, and stack piles of clothes with surprising precision. He's a bit slow, 2 minutes per item, and Isaac is just the beginning. Neo, a humanoid by Palo Alto startup 1X, is set to hit the market in 2026. Automated helpers are poised to take the grunt work out of chores, with the global household robot market expected to soar from $12 billion in 2024 to $71 billion by 2034.
It's Tehad reporting, and if you're thinking, I could use a little helper to fold my clothes, the price range for that robot is in the tens of thousands of dollars. Long Island pet shelters are getting some help from public donations. Madison Caton with Protect the Paws has launched a drive to collect all sorts of things for animals.
We have collected supplies, blankets, toys, leashes, and made sure that animals in shelters can really get what they need.
They're also collecting food and toys for pets. You can drop off donations at Town Hall in Huntington through January 8th. The NYPD is looking for a man who allegedly stabbed a dog while its owner was walking the dog. Happened Friday night on 14th and 5th near Union Square. Dog's owner told cops the suspect acted as if he was going to pet her pooch. She thought he had a vape pen in his hand. She then discovered her dog Hazel was bleeding, had a puncture wound on the right side. Hazel underwent surgery to stitch up her wound, is now back at home. No arrests yet. Methamphetamine. Can you pass it off as tea? Apparently not. An Australian woman found out the hard way when she allegedly tried to smuggle 33 pounds of meth into Sydney Airport by putting it in vacuum-sealed bags and labeling it oolong tea. Officers at the airport were not fooled. They were suspicious of the packages and tested the substance. It is estimated the meth seized has a street value of more than $13 million. The woman is now facing a maximum sentence of life in prison. Getting closer to the end of the year, so what are some of the issues the president is dealing with?
The economy looms large. The stock market seeing record highs this year while inflation cooling to 2.7% in November. But a recent CBS News poll found fewer than 1 in 5 say Mr. Trump's policies made them financially better off in 2025.
I'm bringing the prices down, and I'm bringing them down fast.
The president previously called affordability a hoax, but with the control of Congress on the line in next year's midterms, he now says pricing will be the top issue for voters.
Willie James Inman reporting. Iran's president says his nation is at full-scale war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe, saying those countries don't want his country to remain stable. Iran's leaders have repeated their stance against the West after a U.S. and Israel-led attack on Iran's nuclear facilities back in June. It's cloudy, 31 going up to 35 in Midtown. Now Bloomberg Money Watch.
Flying taxis are getting closer, but before anyone takes to the air, you got to come up with a place to land.
We're going to build 2,000 of these, so we're going to not make them cost a lot of money.
Lisa Wright is the founder and CEO of Landings, which is building out a network of so-called vertiports for electrically powered vertical takeoff and landing aircraft.
How we're going to do that is because they're mini, they're very small, they're micro, they're about an acre and a half is the minimum space we need, and not all of them will have charging, but by having such a dense network, we'll be able to guarantee landing spaces and charging within 30 minutes of any spot you are.
But lining up that power for charging is a big issue.
So getting access to energy is hard. We're not really competing with data centers, but data centers are looking for energy in areas that we're looking for energy as well.
Beyond airport passengers, the use case for these VTOLs could include agriculture, medical purposes, and first responders. I'm Charlie Pellet, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
WINS FM in HD1 New York.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
More people get their news from 1010 Wins than from any other radio station in the nation. Abby Lynn Williams and Anthony Bosco are service aides. Tanya Mercado at the editor's desk. And I'm Asho Kabbalah.
all news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM, New York.
Good afternoon. It's 31 degrees at 3 o'clock. I'm Suzanne Colucci, and here's what's happening. No snow, but we're tracking a fast-moving rainstorm tonight. That means the threat of freezing rain and black ice. Be careful if you're driving. It is the return trip home from Christmas getaways for millions. It's better than yesterday at the airports, but hundreds of flights are delayed again. It's almost time to ring in the new year, but today in Times Square, it's the day to say good riddance to all the things from this year that you want to leave behind. A major freeway north of Los Angeles has just reopened after a massive gas leak. There's a new ranking for the best cities to ring in New Year's. Guess which one was not first? It's true. Sports, the Jets are playing the Patriots. The Giants take on the Raiders this afternoon. AccuWeather says we're going up to 35 today, and then that freezing rain starts to push in areas north of the city later on. Wins News Time 3:01. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Sue Aller.
We got some big delays in New Jersey on the Garden State Parkway. The express lanes are closed northbound at exit 109 with a flipped over car. And you definitely want to avoid this altogether and stick with the local lanes. Again, avoid the express lanes. Then the western spur of the turnpike is just real slow both ways right by the American Dream Mall and MetLife Stadium. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. About 45 minutes to the upper level of the George Washington Bridge, 35 to the lower, but a little bit of good news eastbound on the Cross Bronx. That accident on the ramp to Amsterdam Avenue has been cleared away. We are looking at about 35 to 40 on the outbound side. And as you come off of the bridge, you got about a 2-mile delay on 95 Express into exit 69. So stick with the locals. About 30 minutes at both the inbound Lincoln and Holland, outbound about 10 minutes each. And heading into Staten Island, the Goethals Bridge is jammed. And that is just due to volume on the expressway. So stick with the outer bridge crossing. But in Queens, watch out for a crash on the BQE westbound right at the Kosciuszko Bridge. The left lane is blocked. Sue Aller, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
No new snow today, but freezing rain could be a problem in places north and west of the city. Let's get the very latest now from AccuWeather's Matt Benz.
And the clouds have thickened up, but no rain yet, at least anywhere near the tri-state. That is still well to our west over Pennsylvania. But as it moves in here for this evening and for the early overnight, just plain rain expected here for the city. But like you mentioned, north and west of the city is where temperatures may struggle to get above freezing. That's where there could be a period of freezing rain and drizzle for at least a couple of hours early on tonight, leading to slippery travel, especially near north and west of 287. Things will improve, though, later on tonight and into the morning commute tomorrow as temperatures rise to near 40 degrees by daybreak. Suzanne?
All right, Matt. Well, after more than 1,000 flight cancellations and delays in the Northeast yesterday, things are better today, but there is still a ripple effect.
I just want to make it home to my own bed tonight.
Delays caused Audrey Natarzinski to worry she'd miss her connection in Chicago on her way back to Albuquerque.
It's getting narrower every minute.
For others, it was the opposite. On her way back to Iowa, Maura Goodwin's scheduled 45-minute layover in St. Louis was getting longer.
I now have about a 4-hour wait.
That was correspondent Eva Anderson. At JFK, there are over 260 flights delayed, and Newark has over 200. LaGuardia stands at about 150. All three have some cancellations, but nothing like yesterday. At the same time, the 2025 ends, so will the city's Metro cards. The iconic plastic cards replaced subway tokens in 1994. And now, 30 years later, they too are going by the wayside. On January 1st, the New York City transit system is transitioning to Omni, a contactless payment system that lets riders tap credit cards, phones, or other smart devices and pay a fare. Transit Museum curator Jody Shapiro.
If you have a card that's enabled with RFID, if you have a watch or a phone or a ring even that's got that proximity technology, the RFID, you can pay for a ride on the subway or the bus.
Even though the MTA will no longer sell Metro cards, the agency will still accept them for the next few months. Today is Good Riddance Day, and they're marking it in Times Square.
As the new year approaches, we tend to think about the resolution, what's next. But what's a new plan without acknowledging your missteps?
Goodbye 2025!
Yeah, in the heart of Times Square, we find hundreds of folks lined up with their written good riddances and a ticket to 2026. Here's Lorena's.
I'm getting rid of negativity, doubting myself, and stress I cannot control.
Yeah, she's heading back to Miami, but made this a priority. What time's your flight?
At 3.
Girl, you gotta go.
I know.
And Caroline from Denmark.
Doing things just for others. I want to do more for myself and experience more just for me.
A lot of folks here prioritizing themselves in 26. Amanda Alexander, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Times Square.
The countdown is on to New Year's Eve and the ball drop atop One Times Square. Thousands will pack in to see it and millions more will be tuning in to take in the big moment. There was no one like her. Actress Brigitte Bardot, a sex symbol of the 1960s, has died at her home in southern France. She was 91.
Brigitte Bardot was a teenager when she starred in The Girl in the Bikini in 1952.
An uninhibited child of nature stripped of all pretension. A lighthouse keeper's daughter.
Her incredible beauty and free-spirited sexuality earned her sex kitten status. A few years later, her film And God Created Woman was condemned by the Catholic League of Decency.
Embrasse-moi, Michel, embrasse-moi.
Bardot had a secondary career as a French pop singer, but by the age of 39, she decided to leave show business and become an animal rights activist.
And that was correspondent Sam Litzinger. Bardot made 28 films. A man is accused of shooting a woman in Denville on Christmas Eve. The Morris County Prosecutor's Office says the victim was found lying in the street at the intersection of Old Boonton and Pocono Roads around 9:30 at night after being shot in her stomach. The woman was rushed to a local hospital. She's recovering. 37-year-old Jovan Young was taken into custody in connection with the shooting. Prosecutors say Young and the victim were together earlier in the day. Young is facing a number of charges. Police say more could be coming. Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan is speaking out about President Trump's search for a new Federal Reserve chair, saying the markets will punish people if we don't have an independent Fed. Today, Moynihan was on CBS's Face the Nation, talking about inflation.
They saw the inflation in 23 and 24 that was on their minds, and they want to see it subsist, and it'll take a little while to subsist. But as you go into 26, having come through 25, the incremental hit of that would be lower, and even when the Fed looks at it, they think inflation keeps working its way down.
And CBS polling shows that most Americans found their holiday items were harder to afford this year, with 44% of those surveyed saying items were more expensive than they were last year. Right now, we're at 31 degrees. We're going up to 35. Traffic in the full forecast are next. There is a race against the clock today to find a missing teen out west. We're going to tell you all about that. But first, WINS News Time 3:11. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Sue Aller.
And we got big delays in New Jersey with this flipped over car on the Garden State Parkway in the express lanes northbound, just north of exit 109. Everything is shut down, so you definitely want to avoid the express lanes and stick with the local lanes. You will be much better off. And here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Still looking at about 40 minutes to the upper level of the GWB, about 30 to 35 to the lower. That's from 8095 Express. The other approaches will be much better. On the outbound side, it's about 35 to 40 minutes. And once you get off of the bridge for about 2 miles, you're slammed on 8095 Express. So stick with the locals. 30 to 35 at both the inbound Lincoln and Holland tunnels, outbound about 10 each. And the Staten Island bound Goethals Bridge is real slow. So stick with the outer bridge crossing. Once you're in Staten Island, the expressway slows down both ways right by Richmond Avenue. And in Queens, you're hitting the brakes with an accident on the BQE westbound right at the Kosciuszko Bridge. The left lane is blocked. Sue Allard, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check now of the AccuWeather forecast. Here's meteorologist Matt Benz.
And we are dealing with dry conditions out there for this afternoon, but watching for some rain and drizzle to return this evening and tonight. Some areas of fog as well. Now, some of that could include some freezing rain and drizzle, especially at the onset and especially north and west of the city, near north and west of 287, especially where there could be some slippery travel. Temperatures on the rise to around 40 by daybreak. Tomorrow, windy, occasional rain in the morning, and periods of sun for the afternoon, high at 49 degrees. And very windy for tomorrow night and blustery for Tuesday. We could be seeing wind gusts in excess of 40 to 50 miles per hour here across the tri-state with a high of just 32. Wednesday, cold for New Year's Eve day, breezy, high of 34. Right now, we're up to 32 degrees in Central Park with a relative humidity at at 72%. Repeating, the current temperature is 32, heading up to 40 later tonight in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Matt Benz, a New York weather station, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
A desperate search is continuing for 19-year-old Camila Mendoza Olmos. Friends and family are fanning out all across San Antonio this afternoon, trying to figure out where she could be. Authorities believe she's in danger, and they've issued a missing person alert.
The teenager last seen just before 7 a.m. the morning of Christmas Eve on a neighbor's home security camera, leaving her San Antonio home and searching inside her car for an item. Moments later, the footage ends. Officials believe the teen then left on foot with just her car keys, leaving the car and her phone behind, something her friends say is not like her.
It's been very out of the normal.
The sheriff's office telling us they have conducted multiple searches using drones, search and rescue personnel, and even cadaver dogs.
And that was correspondent Jacqueline Lee. Coming up, it is a showdown of sorts between the Patriots and the Jets. Sports is next. 31 degrees going up to 35 in Midtown. Now a WFAN Sports Flash.
Well, there wasn't much hope that the Jets would upset the Patriots, but they have not been the least bit competitive. The Jets being walloped 42-3 on their home field. Patriots quarterback Drake May threw 5 touchdowns before the Pats finally relented a touch and sent him to the bench. The Jets will fall to 3-13, still late third quarter there in Jersey. The Jets' draft stock is rising at least. The Browns continue to lead the Steelers 10-6, reaching the midway point of the fourth quarter now in Cleveland. If the Browns are able to win, the Jets will move into the top 3 in draft positioning and perhaps higher depending on what happens later. And that brings in the Giants, who are taking on the Raiders. The Giants are in position for the number 1 pick. The Raiders, number 2. One of them has to win, or they could tie. That would be the worst-case scenario for the Jets. Should be kind of a bizarre football game with both teams better off losing in the long term. Kickoff coming at 4:05. You can hear that on WFAN. The only other local action is the Islanders visiting the Blue Jackets in Columbus at 5 o'clock. From the WFAN Sports Desk, I'm Pete McCarthy.
A major freeway north of Los Angeles has reopened this afternoon after a huge natural gas leak, but not before causing mammoth backups for hours on the 5.
A gas leak in California forcing a major freeway to shut down, causing traffic and concerns for commuters.
We smelled gas as soon as we got into Santa Clarita.
The gas violently bursting into the air, picking up debris and visible from miles away. Authorities shutting down the freeway, worried over the possible cause of the leak. Traffic backed up as far as the eye could see. Some drivers stuck on the road for more than 3 hours.
And that was Janae Norman reporting. Are you still trying to come up with a New Year's Eve plan? There's a new ranking of the best places to be.
When it comes to the best city to be in for New Year's,
you would assume that New York City would be the gold standard.
But analyst Chip Lupo says the Big Apple did not rank number 1 on Wallet Hub's list. Orlando, Florida did.
Which makes sense. Proximity to Disney and massive fireworks.
Wallet Hub compared 100 cities on things like fireworks, food, nightlife, affordability, and safety. Las Vegas was second, given its vibrant nightlife and entertainment. New York third. Seattle, which launches fireworks right off the Space Needle, was fourth. Los Angeles, also ranking high for food and entertainment, was fifth.
And that was Heather Bosch reporting. The station you know, the people you trust.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good afternoon. It's 31 degrees at 3:20. I'm Suzanne Colucci, and here's what's happening. First snow, now freezing rain is threatening the tri-state just as people return home from the holidays. An AccuWeather update is 2 minutes away. After an awful day at the airports yesterday because of the snow, things are better today, but there are still lots of flight delays. President Trump says he's spoken to Vladimir Putin ahead of his Mar-a-Lago meeting, which is now underway with Ukraine's president, aimed at ending the nearly 4-year-long war. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she's confident Democrats will retake the House in the 2026 midterms. A special Grammy celebration of Latin music is happening tonight. Sports, the Jets are playing the Patriots.